Had my mind on how to stay lean in a software ecosystem that is designed to do anything but. Been a lot more fascinated in the idea of as simple as moving away from email altogether and having a dashboard for communications, moving away from disparate email accounts, direct messaging accounts, and having one dashboard that can bring it all together. If I reflect on this, there was someone I met a few years ago that had put together a project that was never fully flushed out into a business, but it was basically this idea around a personal CRM. Now, CRM, if you're not familiar with that, stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's usually reserved for business purposes. You can think of Salesforce having a CRM, HubSpot having a CRM. There's a bunch of other ones. I'm kind of interested in this one called Odoo right now. Maybe I can make a video in the future about what kind of caught my attention about that product, that CRM product. Um, but basically, wanted to reflect on a little bit more around this idea of the personal CRM. I probably would not have made that connection when I had first come across the personal CRM, and then in recent history, thinking a lot more about why do we have all these separate email accounts? Even if you just have it at email, you have your work email, your personal email, and then maybe an email for what you think is be mostly spam or an email that's largely for newsletters, trying to like separate it out. Why do we have all these separate accounts to log in when there's probably enough software available even before AI, but probably especially so with AI, that we can create one dashboard for our communication headquarters. So um, I think there's different versions of this. In my experience, it's a bit scattered. So, like for example, if you have a social media scheduling tool, a lot of times you can from that tool you can answer direct messages on multiple social media platforms. Kind of thinking about that idea, but kind of broadened out to include your work email, your personal email, your newsletter email, and so on and so forth. That's been on my mind, kind of on and off of my mind. I mean, like I said, the personal CRM, I was introduced to that concept just a few years ago. And then sometime during this year, got interested in the idea of having a dashboard, given that even if you're not running a business, just thinking about how do businesses stay organized, and it seems like the dashboard is an effective way to do that. And trying to brainstorm and think about what are some ways to kind of do that and at the same time stay lean with the softwares, the tools, and the tech that you use, not only for the bloated technological cost that can come from subscribing to this tool, this software, this tool, this software, but then also the human capital and the time cost of trying to have these different tools talk to each other, to integrate well with one another, even if regardless of whether it's an actual automation through a Zapier or a Make. Make used to be called Integromat. I think now there's the AI ones like N8, N8N, Gumloop, things like that. But as you can tell, I'm just name dropping different tools that I've heard of, and it seems like the list goes on and on. So how do you kind of balance? I'm brainstorming. How do I balance the the desire to have one dashboard to house all communications in the digital ecosystem across emails, direct messages, social media accounts, and then um, also having a very small, lean technological infrastructure to maintain.